So yeah, good morning. So for this lesson, first lesson of the second quarter, somehow we'll be discussing all about the ancient and classical history of Greece. Okay, so Greek history. So before we actually formally begin with this, once you hear Greece, and what comes to your mind? Greece. Like even just some adjective. Yes, Mon. Like
Yogurt.
adjectives that you can associate. Yes, Mon.
Yogurt.
Yogurt. Yogurt. Ah, Greek yogurt. Oh, sige, sige, sige. Pero ano that's a good answer. Later kasi there's also a slide in here like the diet of the Greek people in the past. And yes, they have actually yogurt diet and then grapes and then wheat bread. Those are like their diet in the Greek culture. Pero what else? When you say Greek, yes, Biel.
The Greek gods po.
Yun. Yeah, I was actually hoping or waiting for someone to mention about the mythology, the Greek mythology. And if you're fond of that, which me, I am so fond of that. I like reading Greek mythology. If you will actually, if you're emotionally invested in Greek mythology, you'll see that there's also Roman mythology. But the only difference of Greek mythology to Roman mythology are the names, but the stories are just the same. So basically, the Romans copied the mythology of the Greek people. So that only means one thing, that the Greek people are like the trendsetter, or like the Greek people are like the standard, especially during that time. Diba? So yes, for those who have unstable internet connection, you can turn off your camera if that will help. No, and in case you're gonna be coming and going in this class, I understand. Anyway, this is recorded. So yun, just just catch up. Okay. So anyway, so many things actually coming into my mind whenever I hear the word Greece. For me, it's like super serene. It's such a beautiful place to rest, and it's just really a relaxing somehow image for me, idea for me. Pero for you, since it's your first time to actually discuss Greek culture, so for sure you have like different things in mind. But with me, I really, really love this civilization. So to give you an idea, the Greek culture started because I have this PDF file of like the world history timeline. I used to actually really navigate into this file because I want to know what's happening in other parts of the world as a certain thing happen in a certain part. Like for example, here in Europe, what we are about to discuss is the history of Greek civilization. So Crete, Mycenaean, the Minoan civilization. That's our topic now. So as those things happen, the things that we're gonna be discussing later, these are like what's happening in the rest of the world. Like for example, in the Middle East, the Sumerians are just starting to settle in Mesopotamia. So meaning to say, when we discuss Minoan and Mycenaean, in the other parts of the world, especially in that Mesopotamian region, the Sumerians are just starting their civilization as well. The Sumerian writing on clay tablet, and then also the wheel in is in use in Mesopotamia. So in short, as the Greek civilization flourished, so is the Sumerian civilization. Meanwhile, in Asia, no other important events during that time. Only like yan, horses first domesticated in Ukraine. And then in Africa, yan, the copper age of Egypt, and then the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt of King Menes. So meaning to say, as Menes unified Egypt, that's also the time wherein the classical Greece is starting. So I hope you get the idea why I want to show the world history timeline to you, so that you'll get a point of view na those things are happening simultaneously. Okay, they're in the same So this map right here, I want you to be really good at map. If you think you're not parang your skill is not into photographic memory, that could actually be enhanced. All you have to do is just really look into images, look into map, because that's gonna be very important in studying world history. You need to be knowledgeable of maps. You need to know where is a certain country located, so that you also know their neighboring countries, what are their conflicts and their advantages. Like in this image right here, I give you an image of ancient Greece. So this is like their map. Though it looks still the same at this moment. It's just like they have different city names na. City names. So this is the place that we're gonna be discussing. So all about Greece. So later I'll have a more specific image. Pero uh, Greece is like it's a peninsula. And then it's almost cut in half. Kasi there's this gulf right here. Gulf. The Gulf of Corinth, and so near the Corinth part in there, it's almost cut in half. But there's this near part of Mycenae, there's like a narrow path. So meaning to say, the part of Sparta and Olympia is not actually totally detached to the entire Greek peninsula. It's just like there's this tiny pathwalk in Mycenae wherein it's still connected. So in short, it's not totally detached, almost but not quite. So, yan. And then they're surrounded by many sea. Ionian, which is almost near Italy already, and then Aegean near Turkey or Persia, and then Mediterranean Sea, and this is Egypt. So I want you to actually look at how rich the neighbors of Greek civilization. So this is Greek civilization, neighbor niya the Romans. Pero during this time, they're not yet that flourishing. Pero there are already people living in here, the Etruscans and like that. And then here in Persia, of course, they're already powerful during this time. Persian Empire. And then also the Egyptian are like starting to grow during this time as well. And then we also have like the Mesopotamian civilization in here. So as you see, this is like such a powerful group of individuals in just one image. Kasi they're like flourishing on their own. So this like a much detailed image of a Greek peninsula. So as you see, it's very rugged. So it is actually known to have a very mountainous topography. It's actually hard to live in Greece because so many mountains. It's not that very high. Same with the Himalayan mountain range, but it's really mountainous. Na parang it's hard to put up agricultural farming in there. Okay, so it has mountain ranges and then also isolated islands. So if Philippines have 7,000 plus islands, the Greek peninsula also have a lot, but I believe not 7,000. But it's a lot, especially islets like that kind of appearances. So and like really small portion of land, and they have rocky soil. Okay, rocky soil that made it really difficult for the Greek people to cultivate their crops. There's this image right here, famous to the Santorini kind of housing. So it was inspired na by other subdivision all over the world kasi that Santorini style of living somehow was inspired by so many subdivision all over the world. Tapos there's this eatery, parang kainan or restaurant in Katipunan. I forgot what they call it eh. Pero have you been there? Para they imitated this appearance, tas they make it like a restaurant. And then instead of actually every box like that is like a stall. So kunyari, stall for churros, stall for I forgot, I think it's just lang eh. Cantorini, they call it Cantorini. It's near the SM Blue. If you've been there, yun, that's their inspiration. Okay. Yan. So, of course, it's usual whenever we're discussing a new, yes, yes, yan. Yan. Whenever we're discussing a new place, we talk about its relative location. Relative location. So, Greece is actually surrounded by many sea. So, in its west part, Ionian Sea. In its east part, Aegean Sea. In its south, Mediterranean Sea. Okay, and then it has hundreds of islets around. And the biggest island in Greece is Crete. So let's go back a little bit. I'll show you what Crete look. This is Crete. Some pronounce it as Crete, pero I'm comfortable pronouncing it as Crete. So Crete, and then they have a lot of hundred of islets surrounding it, and then sea surrounding it. Actually, this map is a bit incorrect. Crete is not that far from a little bit closer, mga here. Crete. Yan. So almost divided, as I've mentioned, almost divided into two because of the Gulf of Corinth. But there's this small passage in the Mycenaean portion that connects the massive portion of Greece to its lower portion. So it has rugged terrain, and only a quarter, meaning one fourth only of the land in Greece are actually able to farm. And whenever they plant crops in that arable land, it's not like as bountiful as the one in Mesopotamia or as bountiful as the one in Egyptian riverbanks. It's not a fertile land. But it's just still somehow dry. That's why the only things that could actually grow in that one fourth of a land that they can farm are olive trees and grapevines. Grapevines. So one thing with grapes, they actually grow in a northern hemisphere type of environment. It's supposed to be cold and somehow like the weather is humid. Okay. So yun, grapevines and olive trees. That's why that's their diet. Okay. And then they have limited transportation and communication. That's why it's difficult to unite. Since they have rugged terrain, they rarely contact each other. Parang to whatever place they are in, they just stay in there and then make their living, the best of their living out of it. They don't trade much with one another. They don't even interact that much to one another. Okay. And another thing, they have different culture. They have different cultural practices. Tendency, they really have this disagreement with one another. And the two of the most famous city states in Greece is Sparta and Athens. And we'll discuss them sooner or later. Pero that two city states are like super opposing. Like imagine red and blue. Imagine ano ba, Dilaw and DDS or whatever it is that's super opposite. They're like super opposite with one another. Okay. So now let's explore the daily life in ancient Greece. When I was so fascinated in Greek mythology, I felt in my heart that I can feel and live the life of the ancient people, ancient Greek people. Kasi I'm so invested on the story to the point that I can feel it eh. I do not know. When you read kasi, I hope majority of you are into reading. Kasi when you read, you feel it. It's something that you cannot explain eh. Pero yun, that's why I feel like I live in ancient Greece even though I did not. I just feel it in my heart. So ayan, there's this image in a jar that was excavated long time ago, and they saw this depiction of a regular life, a regular farming life, a regular daily life of Greek people. So they're doing their best to actually harvest the best crops that they planted. So yun nga. So only 20 to 30% of ancient Greece land were arable or was arable. And the most important crops they have grapes, olives, and barley. Barley are like wheat as well, used for making bread. Okay. So try to imagine their diet. Olives, grapes, and barley. Very very Mediterranean. Yan. So this is like like a diet, like or like a picture of their daily meal. So the daily diet includes a cereal which composed of wheat or barley. So high in fiber yan, high in fiber. And then they also have grapes, olives, commonly called the Mediterranean triad. So the moment they have cereal, grapes, and olives, they're okay with that. The same way with the Filipinos. Parang the Filipino naman, our staple food, rice. rice or bread or corn. In some areas of Mindanao and Visayas, their staple food is corn. Here in the Katagalugan region, rice. So that's what make us happy, and that somehow that's what the food that makes us who we are. The same thing with the Greek people. Parang it's the cereal, grapes, and olives. So yan, Greek typically made grapes also. They typically made wine out of grapes. So I hope you have seen like videos of how it is being done, no? They're stepping on it. So imagine like grapefruit, tapos it's being stepped on. And there's this common parang tradition in Greek civilization that only those that will step on the wine are virgin women. So women are actually asked to wash their feet clean. So once their feet are clean, they will be put in a basin full of grapes, and then they will dance in there. They will dance and they will step on it. And then the juice that was created from that, yun, they will get it, and then they will preserve it, usually months and years. And then once they open it, it's already fermented. They use it as their drink. Okay, so yun, they have that practices. Okay, and also they use they make olive oil out of olive, di ba? And also bread out of grains and cereals. So diets were supplemented with vegetable and herbs from kitchen garden, as well as berries and mushroom. The poor usually ate fish, while oysters, sea urchin, octopus, and eel were considered delicacy and only eaten by the wealthy. So with all these words that I highlighted in there, you actually will not see red meat. So meaning no pork, no beef, 'di ba? Kasi it's not part of their diet. It's if even if it is part, it's not that important to them. Parang they can live without beef and pork. But what's their common intake are like more on sea creatures, fish if you're poor, and then oysters and sea urchin for the elite ones. Okay. So before we move forward, any comment with this composition of food? Do you think you can live in Greece for like say 1 year? This kind of diet for 1 year. This kind of diet. Parang it's bland, no? Parang when I'm also I'm having that imagination, but it's bland. Though it's full of fiber, for sure maybe every day you'll poop. Pero it's not something that you will truly enjoy. So that's their diet. That's their culture. And yeah. So also in here, they're actually able to develop early oven during those times. So they just preheated like bunch of stones, and then they're actually able to create like a mini oven or an ancient classical oven wherein they're actually able to bake their breads. Yan. And we could actually skip some of that. It's all food na kasi our topic is history. We became na international cuisine. So here, another idea. So in a Greek city state, they have this polis. A polis, a city-state, consisted of a city and its surrounding plains and valleys. The nucleus or the center of the polis was the elevated fortified site called the Acropolis. So where the people could take refuge from attack. With the revival of commerce and trading center, a trading center developed below the Acropolis. So basically, sorry if for the low quality, pero imagine this is like the polis or the city state. Typically their capital, or imagine it like their municipio, something like that, or like the capital is always in the highly elevated part, because it's where the leader settle in, and at the same time it's a place of refuge in case they were attacked. They can actually take refuge on that highly elevated land because it's easier to protect if it is highly elevated. Kasi during those times, wala pang canyon, there's no gun. What they had either a sword or a spear, which is actually easily defended. Okay. So here's like an image of yan, of an Acropolis of Athens. So Athens actually composed of so many amenities. Parang if you live in Athens, you'll never get bored. Kasi aside from of course the basic, they have that the Parthenon, highly elevated. They even have like theater for entertainment. Because during that time, they do not have TV, so their form of entertainment is actually to watch drama. That's why the birthplace of drama is in Greece, eh. Because they're into dramatization. Okay, dramatization. And other things pa yan. Let's not discuss that. Yan. And here like what the common people of ancient Greek look like. So as you notice, their manner of clothing is really loose, and their robe color actually has something to do with their class. Parang if you're wearing a white robe with let's say purple color like this man, definitely you're from a highly educated family. So somehow the elite. So if you're just wearing a simple white robe, a regular individual, now if a slave, or let's say you're working under a rich family, typically they don't have clothes. Only the covering for the private parts and like that. Very limited clothing that they have. So parang that's like a status symbol. A status symbol for them. And they're really into talking to one another in the park or in whatever place they're in. Parang their education kasi merely rely on talking to one another. I always believe that education is best when you share it with others. And the Greek people believe that way as well. Na parang they think they learn better if they hear the opinion of others. Okay. And yeah, another image of some Greek people, so adorned with different clothing and materials. And yan, as mentioned a while ago by Biel, the Greek civilization is also known for their religion. During that time, the Greek religion focuses on that the Olympian gods, and whoever now kasi if you say I worship Zeus or I worship Apollo, people will make fun of you. You worship a fictional character. It's not true and things like that. So now if you say that, you're gonna be making fun of because it is viewed as fictional or mythology. Pero during those time, it is like considered a fact na worshiping Zeus, Hera, Apollo. It's like a regular living. It's like a natural thing to do for a Greek individual. So they are polytheistic. They believe in those gods. And for them, every god has a representation. Now, for example, you're in need of family support and family love. You don't pray for Zeus kasi he's so unfaithful. Diba? He's keep on cheating on his wife. So if you pray for love of family and support, you will pray to Hera. Kasi Hera is like the mother of household. Or it could also be I forgot that Hestia. Hestia is the also the goddess of hearth. When you say hearth, yung chimney. Now you might be wondering, what's the connection of chimney to family? Kasi during that time, in a household, whenever there's a chimney and then it's cold and then they'll put fire in it, the family will gather around the chimney, right? So that's why Hestia, the goddess of hearth or chimney, is the symbol of family unity. Okay, so every individual in here, or every gods in here, have their own purpose. So I want to for Ryan asked if we're gonna be studying Greek mythology. I really want to kasi I taught it before in English. Kasi it's for English literature. So maybe you could ask Teacher Ashley. Pero I remember I was able to discuss Greek mythology grade 9 English. Yan. So it's I share interest with this. Yan. So yan, this is actually a very interesting religion for the ancient Greek people. Pero now, it is not considered as religion. It's paganistic na if you actually believe in this. So if you're into modern adaptation of it, Rick Riordan actually wrote gazillion of books about mythology, and his best selling is about the Greek mythology, yung Percy Jackson. And it has actually a lot of parts. And it was actually made into a movie eh. It's just like after Sea of Monster, the movie flop, and it's not being made anymore. Pero it's such a good story. So, yan. It's he also wrote about Egyptian mythology and other mythology, but it's the Greek mythology that Rick Riordan was really known for. So yan. Ano to, really beautiful, really beautiful. That's why the Greek religion was so impactful during that time that even their invaders, when they were invaded by the Romans were like so amazed by the story and the belief in Greek religion eh. That's why they adopted it. All they just did is just change the name. So instead of worshiping Zeus, they worship Jupiter. Instead of worshiping Artemis, they worship Diana. So there's like counterpart of names, except Apollo. Apollo is Greek. Apollo as well in Roman. Okay, so on and so forth. So if you have question with this, maybe I could entertain some. Kasi I'm planning to restart another Zoom kasi we only have 5 minutes eh. So I will restart another Zoom. Pero before that, any question about Greek mythology? Does this How about those who are not familiar in Greek mythology? Anything you want to know about it? None. Yes, Hannah, you raise your hand.
There were Zeus and Hera.
Zeus and Hera, what?
Were Zeus and Hera siblings, for they had different parents.
Their siblings. All this the six major gods in here, six major gods in here are siblings. Kasi there are no one ko there are no there are no other there are no other immortal during that time. Kasi they originated kasi a lot of family line yan eh. So Uranus muna and Gaia. So Uranus is Father Heaven, Gaia is Mother Earth. So when they collided, they form a life. So after that, they born children, different kinds of children, the ugly ones, the beautiful ones. The ugly ones are like the monsters like Hecatondrion, 100 heads. They also birth with Cyclops, like giant individual with one eye. So the ugly ones, and then they also give birth to the beautiful ones, the Titans. So they look like humans, but they're so big, like building big, the Titans. So one of the famous group in the Titans is the group of Cronus and Rhea. They're also siblings kasi they belong in one Father Heaven and Mother Earth. So they're all siblings. So si Cronus and Rhea fell in love with each other. They are from same parent, and they had children. Kaso one thing with their children, not titans, not building big. Their children are like smaller. They are called the Olympians. So yun na sila, Hera, Zeus, and Hera, Zeus, who else? Poseidon, ayun. So Hades, Demeter, I forgot the other one. Pero yan, they're like siblings. Kaso what Cronus did kasi is like there's a oracle, or like there's this parang epiphany to Cronus na parang you need to be careful because what you did to your father, kasi what Cronus did to Uranus, he killed his father eh. Cronus killed his father. So there's this oracle that said to Cronus, what you did to your father, your son will do it to you. So natakot ngayon si Cronus. Cronus was like, I don't want that to happen. So whenever Rhea is like giving birth to their children, yung six na yun, he's swallowing it. Kasi he's like Titan, di ba? He's like so big. So when Rhea give birth and then their child is like tiny human, so he will just swallow it. So you might be thinking, "Hala, edi it died." It's not kasi they're immortal. So they're just living inside him. So they actually grew into teenager or like really adult na. They're still in the stomach of Cronus. So in short, they are deprived of all freedom. They're just there, suppressed in his stomach. But the youngest of all is Zeus. Rhea already got tired. Parang, why you're always eating our children? So what Rhea did, the last child, which is Zeus, she actually have it be adopted by other people. And then he just tricked Cronus na this pile of cloth is our child. So Cronus swallowed without even thinking na there's no child within. So the real Zeus was actually taken care of by other people. Ganon. So when he grew up, he worked as a cupbearer to Cronus. When you say cupbearer, the ones giving wine. So Cronus have no idea that that child is his son. So it's just entertaining and like that. So Zeus actually put a poison in Cronus. So, but that poison did not kill him. It just made him vomit. So when Cronus vomited after drinking that, he was actually vomiting all his children. And all his children are all grown up na. Sila Hera, Poseidon, Hades, they're all grown up na. And they're so grateful with Zeus. Na parang, thank you, you let us out. So they form a team. So they're like together, the Olympian versus the Titan na. So they had this massive warfare. And in short, to cut the story short, the group of Zeus defeated the group of Cronus. So they're all out na. So it's like the Olympians who became like the superior gods. That's the thing pa about Greek mythology. It has no ending. Nobody knows what happened, like because the after that story, when all the Olympians are in the in success, tas they have their different stories na going